Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our home. My name is Katey Segal.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just wiping my brow. I'm Kurt Sutter, and I am also at the home.
And what are we doing, Kurt? I'm sorry. We're kind of like,
oh my God,
laughing a lot today.
We take this quite seriously. We are doing our podcast called PIE, which stands for People, Influences, and Experiences.
Yes, we have actually just started our podcast, and
yes,
my experience of it has been really fun. I'm very much enjoying doing this, which we had talked about years ago. And then everybody on the planet started making podcasts, and we just thought, I think now's the time.
Yeah.
We need one more.
We need one more. No, we are having, here's why it's fun, I think, because it's different. And it's also, it's kind of magical because we don't quite know what we're doing.
Right.
And we don't really care that we know what we're doing.
But we care about you.
No, we care about the listeners, but we're not worried that we're doing it wrong. And everything else we do in terms of our career, we're always worried that it's wrong.
Correct. Or that we're not hitting the mark.
Yeah. And now we don't know what the marks are.
Absolutely.
So we're just sort of making people deal with it.
You know, I had a fun week today. I just wanted to mention that this kind of ties into what we're doing today, but I'm also on the Connors. That's been my latest gig. I played John Goodman's wife, Louise. I'm Louise, which is actually my middle name. I wonder if they knew that. I don't know if they knew that.
It's our daughter's middle name as well.
And it's our daughter's middle name. So this week we did the final episode. One of our daughters. This week we did the final episode of season 6, and it was really a good episode. I loved it. I love those people over there, and they are waiting to hear if there'll be a 7th season, and I'm hoping there will be.
I guess that still happens.
It does.
You know,
on network television.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how television works right now.
It happens everywhere.
It does. It does.
Are we coming back or are we not coming back?
Right. But this particular show has just been so amazing in that it is a continuation of what was Roseanne and had this history of going away, and then it came back, and now they're over 100 episodes. It's been really fantastic.
Yeah. And just what a power, like, my adoration for Laurie and
Laurie Metcalf.
From watching her do theater in New York and Chicago, and it's just such a talented pack of folks.
Yeah, that's been the most fun of doing that job. And I am saying all that because our guest today, who I also did another series that she was on. I did a season of another series that she was on.
That's right. That's right.
And
another wacky family.
Another wacky family. She's one of my. I instantly adored her, is what I'll say. She's one of those young people that has an old soul, and like our children are, is great with adults. So that's who we're speaking to today.
Who are we speaking to?
Her name is Emma Kenney.
Emma! Wait a minute. I'm losing my voice today. Emma! No, wait a minute. Hold on. It has to be spontaneous. Emma! That was good.
That was really good. You might have broke the mic.
I know. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
That's right. So I can talk about personal experience that I have had, not so much anymore, but a lot of social anxiety, which means that I can feel uncomfortable and disconnected when I'm in a crowd. And one of the things that has really helped me with that is therapy. It's given me the self-awareness to build a social life and not be afraid to be a part of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, talk about your social life.
Therefore, I think I need some therapy.
Yes, that has been a topic of conversation lately.
Here's why we're glad and happy to have these folks on board with us and support us, is we are both advocates of mental health help, and for ourselves, for our family, and whether it's long-term and intense, whether it's, sometimes for me, therapy is, I'll be in a pocket I can't get out of, and it's, I'll go in and dip in for 6 months or whatever and figure some shit out. And, there's, and the exploration of different types of therapy and being able to have a network that allows you a lot of choices.
And what's really great about BetterHelp is that it's very convenient. You can find somebody online that you feel safe and comfortable speaking to. And it's a wonderful service that wasn't around when I started therapy. So I had to do a lot of knocking on doors and sitting on people's couches. So this is a new way to do this. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/pie to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/pie.
P-I-E.
P-I-E.
Okay. I'm so excited that you're here, Emma.
Me too.
Really,
Thank you.
really great. I know Emma because we work together, which is awesome. But I was just telling Kurt that I actually don't know very much about it. And I've actually worked with you twice. Did we work on Shameless in the same scene? Oh, yeah, we were in scenes together.
I think we definitely had. You were dating Bill in the show.
Right. And I'm pretty sure, I know we were around each other. I'm sure you were like the star of the show at that.
I definitely remember, being on set with you. And then shortly after, we both were on the corners together too.
Right.
It's funny.
Our whole thing here, Emma, is that we do absolutely no research.
Nice.
For a reason, because it is not really about the Emma Kenney that everybody knows from Shameless and the Connors. It's really about the things that perhaps manifested the choices that developed into who we know you as. So we kind of take a dip into nature and nurture and talk about stuff that we hope makes you just a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay.
Okay, let's jump in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you're from?
So I was born in New York. I was born during a hurricane at 3:33 in the morning.
Wow.
That's where I came about into the world. And a couple years later, my parents wanted to go to the suburbs, so we moved to New Jersey. I was there, and then I came to LA by 9 years old.
This one's from New Jersey.
Where in New Jersey did they stick you?
Exactly. Scotch Plains.
Oh my God, we're neighbors.
No way.
I grew up in Clark.
Wait, actually, like one train station away.
No kidding.
My friends and I in high school, we used to basically train hop. There was a period of time where I was, a little rebellious, and we would hide in the bathrooms.
You?
Yeah. Me. And we'd hide in the bathrooms, probably get off at Clark sometimes, that train stop.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, Scotch Plains was very nice. Just remember it being very, there was that diagonal into New York that was all like refineries and it's what everyone thinks about in terms of New Jersey. And then there's the other diagonal that is actually quite beautiful that heads, in the other direction. And
that's Scotch Plains.
And Scotch Plains was sort of on that trajectory a little bit. But again, another small suburban enclave.
I have to tell you, New Jersey grows some very talented people. I'm always shocked by how many people either are from or grew up in New Jersey.
I have said the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's wild,
and
right?
to all our listeners in New Jersey, we're just saying that because of how much we love you.
That's right.
How long were you in Jersey?
I was in Jersey for full-time about 5 years. And then when I was 9, I booked Shameless, which was shooting here in LA.
Holy crap.
Okay, wait. Hold up. Did you want to be an actor when you were 8 years old?
So growing up, my mom signed me up for literally every class you can imagine. And the only things I liked that didn't give me anxiety were acting, skiing, and tennis, which are the only 3 things, and dog rescue, which are literally the only 4 things I still like to do as an adult.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you started taking acting classes when you're what, 7, 6?
5, 6.
Really?
Yeah. And I got a manager from a showcase. I was going to Diane Harden in New York, who I love Diane. She made acting so much fun. I think her course was called The Joy of Acting. We would do improv games, play Emotional Family, an improv game, bus stop, such fond memories there. And I've met so many friends here in LA that also went to Diane Hardin back in the day.
Wow.
Who I've rekindled with out here in the most random ways. And she's out here now. I've actually been meaning to give her a call.
What, in your parents' point of view or their background, where did they say, this is a good idea, or this is what we want for you, or do you know what I mean? Because it's especially
as parents, it's
parents, and also in that, like, not, I can understand out here,
right?
Like that being like, oh yeah, that's what we do, but it's sort of an isolated, different mindset place, because I know, and so it just seems it seems odd to, like, that was the last thing I expected to come out of your mouth in terms of what that led to.
What was their impetus?
It's quite random. Honestly, I don't know exactly why my mom thought to do that. I think it was because I was always wanting to perform. My family would come over for Christmas, and I'd be, putting on dances and little plays I would write and, in my notebook and try to perform. When I'd have friends over, I was a control freak and directing dances. And
brothers and sisters?
Only child.
Only child. Oh, that's interesting. So the family could
We didn't say
actually...
that judgmentally at all.
No.
Oh.
No, that's not judgmentally at all, because, we have our youngest child who's basically been raised as an only child because her siblings are so much older. And she too is somebody that can entertain herself and be very self-sufficient. Not that she's up there trying to do little plays with her friends. That's not her deal. But there is that sort of thing that happens, I think, with only children, where they are, they're their company, right?
They have to create their own thing.
Their thing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So mom and dad sort of noticed, she's good at this. Let's help her pursue this.
Mostly my mom. My dad is a sports writer. He's, very in that world. He's so sweet. He is very, I don't want to say the word naive, but he's very oblivious to kind of the LA thing and the filming, acting, whole deal. So he really had nothing to do with that, but he just wanted to see me doing things I enjoyed doing.
Did he write for the Ledger?
No, he worked for New York Post, and now he works at City National, which is here in LA.
The bank?
No, City National News.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Interesting.
Still writing sports.
Yeah, he still writes sports. He loves sports. My mom is a lawyer. So there's no ties to the industry in my family whatsoever.
Wow. So they just, so y'all moved out here just
my dad. Actually, so
somebody
I was going back and
found you.
forth.
Oh, I see.
Got casted on Shameless when I was 9. We did the auditions in New York. And once I booked it, Ethan and I, who played Carl, my brother on Shameless, we both were bi-coastal. He was going back to Chicago. So we would both go to regular public school where we were from, and then the other half of the year do set school together and film.
Was Shameless one of your first auditions? Or had you done like a commercial audition, all that stuff?
I had done a bunch of commercial auditions. I had definitely auditioned for, I remember right before I booked Shameless, I was second in line for the Louis C.K. pilot.
Uh-huh.
And I was devastated that I didn't book it.
As one of his kids?
Yes.
Right.
I weirdly still remember my audition sides. It was, I was like asking for like a waffle or something in the side. But that, I guess, what's meant to be will be.
So we know what your folks did. And all right, this is kind of, you can answer or not. Would you say that this was a functional or dysfunctional sort of upbringing for you in your family, and whether you're comfortable talking about that or not?
No, I'm absolutely
since it's sort of the trope of, everybody's always talking about their dysfunction.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And most stories that begin this way do not end well.
Yeah,
and you
true.
end fantastic.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Hopefully I'm not over yet.
No, you know what I mean.
I got more ways to go.
I mean,
no, I know what you mean.
24, it's usually done or whatever. You know what I mean? And like you're just getting started.
I mean, it's really
Thank you.
kind of wonderful. I've worked with a lot of young actors from when they were 11 and 15, and
oh yeah, you have.
you're kind of coming through good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say,
I feel fortunate. I feel really fortunate to have had the stability in my career that I've had with television. It's, we don't know, obviously, we can't say much, but we don't know exactly what's happening with the next season of The Conners yet. And if it doesn't go again until I booked another job, it will technically be the first time I'm unemployed since I was 9, and I'm 24. And I feel really fortunate for that, but I'm also a little scared of that.
Space.
Yeah. That change, the responsibilities, that come with looking for a job. It's a little stressful, but I feel so fortunate. So I feel bad even complaining and saying I'm afraid of it, because it comes with the territory of being an actor and being freelance.
Are there things that you feel like you missed out on by being a professional actor since the age of 9?
Looking back, I'm really grateful for the choices I made of continuing to go to public school back east. I really had it normal. I mean, yeah, I would be back in school, and yeah, the kids would call me my character name and maybe not be as nice to me, or maybe they would be overly nice to me because I was on TV. But I got a job at a bakery when I was 15. My parents wouldn't let me, touch my money, and I wanted to,
good for them,
do my thing. Got a job at a bakery, ended up getting fired from the bakery. But I was 16.
Fuck you, I have a real job.
No, I wanted to go to a concert, and they were like, no, you have to come to work tomorrow. And I said, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to go to the concert. They said, you're coming to work tomorrow. And I didn't go. Sent my dad in to get my last paycheck.
Well,
So I feel fortunate that I do feel like I had a bit of a normal upbringing because I had that normality.
Right.
But then I also had that LA normality.
Right.
But what even is normal? I don't even know.
Well, do you have friends from the Chicago school? I mean, did you maintain those friendships?
New Jersey, and no. I have a few friends that I keep in touch with here and there, but all my friends are remotely here.
Out here.
Are realistically here and in the industry in some capacity.
Well, it's interesting because in as you said, the stability of TV, when I hear that phrase, I usually think of people who are, a little like are older and have families and
like me.
And like it, no, you know what I mean? But to hear the way you're describing it, which is interesting, is that you didn't have to experience that sort of, wait a minute, am I still good at this? Am I still doing this? And the angst that comes with already being a teenager. We have a 17-year-old, right? So we see it, that sense of, who am I? What do I want to do? Like, if you had to go through the ups and downs of this business while you were experiencing it, it may have been a less productive and perhaps a little bit more rowdy of an upbringing. But there is a stability knowing that
you have a job.
That you have a job.
Well, she knows no different.
Yeah, like I never think of that in terms of like that of your generation. I think of it in terms of, yeah, I got a nugget, I got a
Right.
I just remember working with Christina Applegate when she was 16, 17. And she had been working since she was a baby.
Right.
And she would say things, and Ed and I would always laugh. She'd be like, I just want a regular job. And Ed and I, who had struggled in show business, we were just like, dude, you don't even know how good this is. And so that was an interesting.
That's very funny.
So that's what I mean. It's like, was there ever it doesn't sound like it sounds like you were balanced enough with a real teenage experience.
Yeah.
Like the prom and all that stuff.
I didn't do prom. I did go to a prom in LA, but it wasn't the school I went to. But I didn't go to my prom in New Jersey. I wasn't like popular. Like I remember being early on, probably even in middle school, saying to my friends, I'm not going to prom. I was like, I know I'm not gonna get asked.
Why? Because you thought no one would ask?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not even gonna put myself in that situation. And then I ended up leaving New Jersey schools 10th grade. So I finished up out here in LA.
So
virtually.
Pressure's off.
Pressure's off. We're good.
But
what could have been?
But don't you think people would have been more intimidated than anything else?
I don't know. I have a really weird perception of myself, so I never took it that way.
Right.
That's so good. This is why you're very refreshing.
Thank you.
Because it's the child actors I've worked with. I remember doing a movie with a kid that was like showing me his resume, playing me his tapes. I mean, he was like 10 and just,
His mom is probably the one behind that.
Something.
I know.
And you know, I don't know where that kid is anymore. But
Yeah.
you don't feel that way to me. You feel.
You also with Kaylee too. I mean, you sort of saw. You
Yeah,
had
I've worked with quite a few teenagers
who
you've seen grow.
Yeah,
Kaylee,
who started out as babies doing this.
Yes,
Yeah,
Kaylee was a baby too, and she too had a very realistic view, and I guess it was her parents really. Sure, her parents were pretty normal, so she, you know, so I'm assuming that your mom. Well, I don't know. Let's talk stage mom. How?
A lot on that one.
Okay, let's do that. So how much of that do you think was in your life? Like, was she more ambitious than you?
It's interesting. My mom is very ambitious. She was a professional ice skater growing up and was planning to go professional. And I believe there was an injury involved. My mom and I are not super close, so I don't know the full ins and outs of everything involved with her, if that makes sense. We did have a very dysfunctional relationship growing up. She wasn't on set often. My dad was on set with me. He actually quit his job when I was once Shameless started to go a couple years, he quit his job at the New York Post and flew to LA with me. And he wasn't using my money. He was using his own money. I think he got a job out here at that point. I was so young. I don't remember the full logistics. But yeah, he was the one on set. I definitely experienced a lot of stage moms who would be asking me, you know, who my agent was, all of those things. But auditioning as a kid is tough, you know. You do feel you have a lot to prove to your parents because you want to make them proud, and there's a lot to get a job.
Were you auditioning while you were on Shameless for like the down season, the other stuff?
Definitely was auditioning.
So you had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Definitely have had a lot of auditions. I haven't nailed the art stuff.
Are your folks together?
They're not. They're not. And I say that way because
very ambiguous.
I feel like you should be. I feel like you should have a lawyer whispering in your ear. Which okay, yes, I vaguely recollect.
They're not divorced. I have seen them be romantic together, like kiss.
Right.
Nothing more. Once as a kid. So I don't know them together. They live on different coasts. My dad is out here. My mom is still in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
And it's been that way for as long as I can remember.
So are you still close with your dad?
Yeah. My dad's very sweet. I saw him last night. He is a very sweet guy. Truly nothing to do with the industry. Smart, good-hearted.
Well, this is where I think the down to earth Emma comes, you know, because you have that very grounded sense.
Yeah.
So that's good that your dad is around. I like that.
I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
And no relationship with mom, or is mom just...
Honestly, we don't have a relationship. We had a really tricky upbringing. It was never it wasn't a typical mother-daughter relationship. And as I get older, it's unfortunate, you know, especially being an only child.
Was it more friends?
No.
Oh,
it was not. It was not friends. It was sisterly.
Like competitive sisterly?
Yeah, I didn't want that, but that's how it felt, especially as an adult, having some more clarity and like looking back on things too. You kind of understand things more.
Right.
I think she saw a lot of me in her because she also moved out very young. I ended up moving out on my own when I was 16.
Right.
It's a lot.
It's a
lot.
You know,
it's interesting. You know, my mom had given up her career when she had kids, and she was the show business person. She was a singer from a young age. And I always got the sense that she was supportive yet competitive with me.
Oh, really?
And kind of like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, just a little bit, just envious of the fact that, you know, I wanted to be an artist and enjoyed all these things. And she was, you know, I'm going to use the word saddled with 5 kids. And so
different time.
It was a different time, yeah. But that's an interesting, you know, when you're saying your mom was an ice skater,
yes.
She wanted to.
She's a lawyer. She never quit her job. That's why she stayed back east and didn't come with me out, you know, to the West Coast. And I always wanted her to. I remember, honestly, up until I was I'm 24 now, probably up until I was 23, I would always say to her, please come out here. I'll buy you a house. Please come out here. I want you out here. She didn't want to. She said, no, you know, and it was since I was 9. I wanted her out here. But my dad was there.
Okay, good. But still.
Yeah.
No, that's you know, because it's especially being an only child.
Yeah,
I know.
That's rough. We look at more often than we should. Like we'll have, like, we had an experience. I had a rough weekend with my kid. You know, and it's mostly me. I'm in a lot of work anxiety, and you know, and my patience is thin, and you know, and what'll happen is something will happen with my kid that has nothing to do with my kid, and we'll calm down, we'll all talk, we'll all be golden, you know, and then you and I will be like, okay, what, mom, dad, where did that come from? Like, we'll
go back to our history.
We'll go back to the trauma.
Just see, okay,
was that, oh yeah, that was fat
what
kid stuff.
It?
That was daddy. that was, yeah, you know, and then, and then we often ask people like that, or at that place, how their upbringing has influenced them in terms of how they parent their kids. In your case, A, do you see yourself in that position or wanting those things? And do you think, how do you think those primary relationships and the complications might impact how you move forward with any of that?
Like family and wanting that.
Honestly, since I was a kid, I've always wanted a big family. And I always have, since I've been older at least, I've always had a feeling that I feel like I'll be really at peace and happy when I am a mom. That's something I definitely look forward to and want. I would love to have a few of my own and then adopt a few.
Oh, wow.
But I want a big family. And
love that.
I like that idea.
That's definitely, you know, protecting your brood from the only child syndrome.
Oh, absolutely. I am absolutely. Yeah, it's tough, especially getting older. You know, it's new thoughts that you have to experience alone. You know, I don't have a relationship with my mom, so it's just my dad and I. In my opinion, that's my family, my dad. I have aunt and an uncle and a cousin as well.
Right.
And my 3 dogs, of course. They're the most.
I wonder how your upbringing has affected your friendships. Do you see any of that? Like,
oh, that's interesting. Like,
you know, because you're not in the childbearing place right now.
Yeah.
How does it affect your, I don't know, I just think it's fascinating how we
seek out.
Yeah, we repeat patterns, you know, like I know for myself, my father was hard to reach. So I, for a long time, picked guys that were hard to reach.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just wonder if maybe like your friendships with girls, is that harder to trust than your friendships with boys since you're close to your dad?
You know, a lot of times when girls say this, they always sound like pick me girls, which is kind of like the trending topic, or it's like, oh, like, but it means like, oh, like choose me, like pick me, like, it means like what I was going to say is I often find closer friendships with guys, whether it's in a relationship or just a closer friendship. But a lot of times on like TikTok, they say like pick me girls say they'd rather be friends with guys than girls. And I'd rather be friends with both. But I do find more comfort sometimes.
Well, it's probably because daddy was around and present, and
I actually never had that realization until right now.
I'm the same way. I'm way more comfortable. I mean, my dad was, you know, we were all good by the time he was gone, but you know, it wasn't a close relationship, and it was my mom and 2 sisters, and I was basically raised by women.
Right.
So even though those relationships, my mom, that was a complicated relationship as well. It's where the love was. So it's all like I always ended up having jobs where the women where the bosses were women. I've always, and once again, my job now, all my superiors are women. Right. And I just feel more comfortable.
He writes well for women too.
But it's you know, and my best friends have always been my partners. You know. That's
right.
And it's not. And
what other
and
women are you friends with?
Well,
right
you
now?
know what I mean. But I crave camaraderie.
Yeah, I know.
I crave camaraderie. It's just scarier.
But you mean with guys?
With dudes, yeah.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah. I think that is the reflection of whatever your which parent you were closer with.
Is there that Seinfeld sketch or it's Seinfeld, or there's some show I've seen where there's a sketch and it's like, oh, like, well, what do we do? Like, a bunch of guys, like, should we go like fix something? Or how do we hang?
Yeah, like, what do we do? Yeah.
What do do? Yeah, I think guys have a harder, well, I don't know. I just say that. that's a different relationship. I've never been with a man that has a lot of close friends. I don't know exactly. They're closer.
I have, and yeah, that always, maybe that's something, maybe that's the toxic part of me, but I've often, a lot of my like ex-boyfriends have huge friend circles and are they care so much about what their guy friends think, say, do.
Interesting. Like a little football team.
I've noticed that. And a lot of my girlfriends who have had similar experience, maybe it's the age we're in or the guys we're choosing.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
How is dating in the age we're in right now? Well, first of all, you are in a unique situation because you're a public person. So I imagine you don't have the experience of a lot of online apps. I don't know. I'm not sure. I always wonder, like, if I was single and I was in the public eye, would I go on an app?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know,
We're not asking for your Tinder handle, just for the record.
No. I have had a Raya account.
Right.
In the past, which is like the, dating app for like actors. And then, get into a relationship, you obviously delete it. Actually, it turned out once I had a Raya the whole time I was in a relationship, didn't know I was paying for it or had it. That ended up in a fight. But anyways, yeah, no, I'm weirdly at a spot right now where I'm very particular on being perceived. And I think it's probably my own thing from life. But I don't even feel I'm at a spot right now where I want to put myself online to be perceived. I don't even like to post on Instagram anymore. I'm afraid to post at this point. I don't know why.
Because it's so out of control. And
yeah.
It's so many people's.
Even scrolling, it's exhausting. We're not meant to see this much of everybody's lives. It's exhausting in a way. And
I hope people your age really start heading down that path.
I think Instagram is kind of going downhill. I don't think people are wanting to be.
And it's not truth for the most part.
Oh yeah.
No.
You know what I mean? I mean it's well, that's a whole other
truth.
that's
well,
a whole
we had
other
a friend
podcast.
that started doing a TikTok situation and suddenly got some followers, and then all the followers turned on her. And she's young. She's like in her early 30s, and it really affected her. It was like, they all hate me, blah blah blah. And I would say, like, yeah, they don't know you.
Right. Yeah.
They just know that little TikTok video. And, I think people do really, well, to me, it is just a sign of the alienation of that we're in a big, it's a very separate world right now.
It is.
The idea of you're in a place where you want to be how you're perceived, which to me sounds like, you want to tap into something that's genuine, right? And for someone to see a genuine version of yourself and therefore perhaps attract that. And you're right, I don't think that can be done not that digitally you can't enhance that or supplement that.
Right.
But to find it, you're right, it must be crazy challenging.
Absolutely. I was hanging out with one of my best friends yesterday, and she has newly been seeing this guy who she met on a dating app. And she said to me, she goes, yeah, like, we have fun, we laugh, but I just don't feel like the friendship is there. I don't have that crush where you're out and about and you meet someone and you have that crush. It's before anything happens. And I said, oh, wow, I haven't ever experienced online dating where I'm actually, in that boat, really.
Right. So you're more you've met the person and you have the crush and the normal sort of.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I love when it's, when he's a friend first.
Okay.
Or, being set up through a friend.
That's so great.
Or even just hanging out in a group and you meet someone and you're like, oh.
Right.
I miss that, though. I wish I had a crush right now. Honestly, I miss having a crush.
Well, did you hear that, everybody? Emma Kenney would like to have a crush. Because that was going to be my next question. But even though I know the answer, do you have a partner? What's the,
No, please. I need a crush.
A single Emma.
Ever since I was a kid, I've always had a crush. I've always had, like, someone I'm like, oh, man, like, or a boyfriend. And now I'm like, oh.
Do your boyfriends become like your best friend? Does that become your hang?
Yes.
It does.
Definitely. So it is tough when, my last relationship was a guy who I'd been on and off with for so long. And we had so much history and so much experience together that it's weird when you break up with someone and it's just like, I'm like, I don't think it's not him I miss per se. It's more the day-to-day companionship. And yes, there, of course it is the person. I won't, say it's not, of course, at that time. But Yeah.
It's camaraderie. It's, it's really having a connection.
And being seen so clearly by someone.
Right.
And then, your friends might not see you as clearly. They might not know you as well as your partner does. So you kind of have that lack of visibility.
Well, that says to me, those are some help. If you're willing to show who you really are to a partner,
yeah,
which I think is a struggle sometimes for people.
I can't hide who I am. I wish I could. Oh my God.
Probably why you're a good actor, because your emotions you're there. You're able to access who you are. So that's super
very
cool.
easily.
This is an interesting question, I think, for most people. What do you ever see yourself? Do you ever see your parents in you? Like your behaviors or your, which is kind of a tricky question when you haven't had kids yet, because once you have children and you start to parent those kids, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the way you were raised starts to surface. So I don't know if that rings a bell with you at all.
I see certain things. My dad is really, he's a writer. He's very articulate. He loves storytelling. I have that trait from him. My mom is a lawyer and she can be quite the sleuth. I have that in me. Other than that, maybe sometimes, but not often.
Right. Yeah. You have a long life ahead of you.
Yeah, you have plenty of
plenty of time.
You were talking about how a lot of men that have very few
male friends.
I'm trying to expand that circle for myself because I'm an isolator but do you have a lot of close friends, or do you have just a small core? How do you like to what's your tribe?
What's your friend group?
Yeah, honestly, my friend tribe has my whole kind of I don't know the word, my orbit has changed in the last year, in the last 7-ish months. I have all of the same friends. I've expanded and added some, but I've also gotten a little less close with some who I was super close with, which is an interesting change, especially when you're an only child and you consider those people kind of familial.
Mm-hmm.
An intentional change, or just organically it just changed?
Basically, when I decided to get back together with an ex-boyfriend, a lot of my friends protested and wanted it for my own best interest. And I'm the kind of person that can't be told I can't do something. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take it to the ground until I know I'm done with that situation, whatever it might be. So it kind of, my friendships kind of shifted, honestly, with my last boyfriend. And I think that comes with age, to realize maybe I don't want that to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't really articulated all the words on it yet. And
well, I know our kids went through stages where they were hard partiers, really that was their crowd. And then with growth, with things changing, those kinds of friendships had to kind of just fell by the wayside because they weren't into that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was probably a period of your time when it was, you're a kid, it's party time. It's, whatever that looks like.
I got that out quite young. This is public knowledge. I went to rehab when I was 18. Before that, I had also gone to a bad kid boarding school, which is not public knowledge, but I don't care. I'm an adult.
Was this during Shameless?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was very strange. Growing up, my mom was, she liked me to be very private about things and didn't encourage me to talk much about my personal life, especially on set. And I was pretty naughty as a teenager. I was definitely struggling emotionally and making the wrong decisions, hanging out with the party crowd and kind of doing that thing. They wanted me to go to one of those boarding schools. So I wrapped I think it was season 5 of Shameless in Chicago on a Friday, flew back to LA, Saturday, partied with my friends. The next day, I was living on my own at this time. My dad picked me up to help me, to take me to go tour a high school. I ended up getting picked up by transporters. You get kidnapped, ultimately.
Oh, yes.
They literally take you and put you in a van. It was 3 days before Christmas, and I was supposed to fly that night to New Jersey for Christmas. And I was trying to manipulate my way out. I was like, they were like, your parents told us to get you. You've been making wrong decisions. And I remember just saying, oh, okay, I completely understand. Of course, you're right. I just have a flight tonight I have to make it for. And they said, you're not going to be back for a very long time. They drove me 13 hours up the coast to Oregon.
Oh, you
I was
went
there
to one
till
of those,
May.
like the wilderness camps?
No, it wasn't wilderness. It was inside. We didn't actually, I literally watched the seasons change through a window. Winter to spring, we weren't allowed outside. The school ended up getting shut down by the state while we were there in April. And then my dad came, and for abuse, for foul play, for stealing money, a bunch of things. My dad, all of our parents came, and I said, Dad, thank God I'm coming back. He said, not quite, you're going to stay 1 more month in Oregon living with a counselor. So then I went to live with a counselor in Oregon for 1 month, and I went to public school in Oregon for that time period.
Oh my goodness. Now, was this like a drug and alcohol counselor?
Yeah.
Like
it was
a sober coach, kind of?
Yeah, it was the counselor for the school, which was, all the kids were there for various different reasons. I was there because I was on the naughty end of, drinking underage and doing dumb drugs and stuff.
Do you think that was brought about from young success? I mean, do you equate any of that with access to a lifestyle that is afforded by younger people when they're really, you know what I mean? When they're in the limelight? I wonder if that, or maybe it's just a normal progression of being.
I think I was born that way, weirdly.
Plus, I think you can get drugs anywhere.
Right.
It's true.
Think you know.
I think it was also kind of maybe more inner turmoil. I was looking for an escape, ultimately, and in hindsight, I'm grateful for that boarding school experience. It was really weird, but really interesting to have had that experience that I wouldn't have had otherwise. It almost felt like Girl Interrupted-y.
Wow.
In a way.
Boundaries.
Yeah. And then I got back to LA, and I was brought back on a Saturday, and I had to be back on set on Monday. So my parents that year, they didn't want me to have any free time because they didn't know, what I'd do. And then was naughty again, went to rehab, and ever since then, I haven't touched a drug.
So, because, we're in recovery. I know we've spoken about it. So that's interesting.
I will say, though, for Shameless, it was kind of on brand.
That's what everyone says. And that's what everyone says. And I've never associated it with that.
Oh, yeah.
My character was also goody two shoes.
Oh,
it wasn't my character.
That's true. That's true.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
However, you grew up in an alcoholic environment.
Yes.
Which,
it's all Bill's fault.
That's right. It tends to be, tends to have that connection. It's a familial kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm so glad that you got through that okay.
Thank you.
I'm really, really glad you got through that. I think that's when we first met. I think
we definitely met around, when I was around 17, 18. So It was after boarding school. I think it was after I had stopped. It was after I stopped doing drugs and excessively drinking.
I think we had that conversation because I think we talked about 12-step programs.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
I wasn't ready at that point, I think. There was a period of time where I was sober, and I had a sober coach who was living with me that my mom wanted me to do. And she was so great. She actually passed away.
Oh, the sober coach did? Oh.
Yeah, very sad. She and I were very close. She actually committed suicide a few years ago.
Aye.
Very sad, yeah.
Well, alcoholism is a killer disease.
Yeah.
For many, many reasons. It's a mental thing.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad she helped you.
She did. I think about her all the time. We had a very special relationship. I remember she encouraged me to date like my first love. Because he was my best friend, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of nervous to go hang out with him today. And she was like, do you like him? Like, do you have a crush on him? And I was like, no. And turned out I did.
Oh, that's so.
And she kind of encouraged me to realize that, and he had already realized it, but
well, I would think that's great, because I think as having not a lot of maternal influences in your life, which is, I grew up a little bit that way too. My mother was absent pretty much because she was sick a lot of my life. And so I learned a lot from, and I still am actually. I'm always trying to meet like older women to know like what happens now.
Huh.
What's next? What's, because not having a maternal sort of anybody. So
I definitely relate to that, and I hear that, yeah, in my own way too.
Right. You kind of seek out women that maybe know stuff that you're curious about.
absolutely. I don't know any of the hair makeup stuff. I wasn't taught that by my mom. Any of the beauty life hacks, no idea. It's overwhelming how many things there are you're supposed to be doing. I have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
I buy all the vitamins and they sit on my damn desk.
And I love that. I so appreciate you like being so open about that, because I think it's really, you know, my interpretation, and I don't know you, and as Katey knows you better than you know, but you present as a whole human being, and I think sometimes that's those experiences don't necessarily manifest that kind of person. So, and I love that you've up until you were talking about that struggle, which is pretty, I know those schools.
We know those struggles.
Those schools there's just been, a whole slew of in the news about, well, them being shut down, but that you began this whole conversation really and organically and honestly talking about the things you were grateful for, which to me, it didn't begin with like, like that energy alone is like, oh, okay, I can look at that and yeah, I don't want to have to do that again, but that helped.
Yes.
That helped. That not so much. And sort of being able to compile it in a way that allows you to stay grateful and stay present is pretty cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just totally the key to life. It's really how we perceive things. It's like how we're going to take a situation, and it either all, we can tell ourselves it all sucks, or we can pull the good pieces out.
I just feel like an asshole complaining. Like,
Why do you feel like, quality problems are still problems.
Yeah. Honestly, I was raised very much, my dad, I love him, but he's very much like, you have to be grateful. You can't complain. So I kind of have been raised very much, even though there's maybe champagne problems, there are definitely still problems that I feel. And my therapist, who I love, is always trying to say, like, you can feel your emotions. But LA, to me, it's LA being so extreme. It's so intense. You see, also being on set, there's just so many extremes that it's almost devastating.
Meaning? Talk more about it.
It's just, you see it in any big city. You see the assholes driving by in their sports cars, blowing smoke, unfortunately, on, a homeless person who's sitting on the street. And it's just, that's one specific example, but I just think about stuff like that often, and the extremities of the world that we're living in.
Right. And
it just, makes me sad. I own a dog rescue. I see, dogs on the euthanasia list every day, stuff like that. I'm very like empathetic, I feel like, for.
Right. But I agree with your therapist. You still get to have your own disappointments and sadnesses, and, and that's a good thing to do.
There's a distinct difference between, having a feeling and wallowing in a feeling.
That totally.
And, there's a lot of wallowing in this town, because it becomes, because for some people it becomes their identity, and so I can understand that knee-jerk reaction of like, I have no right to, but, and it's a balance sometimes. Like I've been whining for the last 2 weeks because, the fantastic show that I get to create, is giving me some anxiety. and
I feel you.
And I'm like, I can't. They're only spending 100 minutes, and I feel like an idiot. But then I'm like, well, no,
it's a lot of pressure.
It's in my body, so I know it's real,
right?
But so I allow myself to tell her I'll go to an AA meeting, and unload, but I won't. I don't bring it to work.
Right.
I don't bring it to my creative process.
Right.
But I'm still allowed to
dump it,
overwhelmed and have the feelings, as long as it doesn't become like, you know, as long as I don't walk into a reading with that energy.
Fair. I mean, to me, that sounds like a great attitude. And also, I've never ran a show, but I couldn't imagine the pressure that comes with it.
It's a little bit.
It's a lot. Yes, but it's all going to be very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, ask her the lore question. I think that's such a good question.
You know, just sort of being mythology and tribal driven and all that shit that I love, that and sort of having, without really an intention of it, manifesting a bit of my own book, if you will, my own, I don't want to say lore, but my own sense of how people perceive me. So that when I walk into a room sometimes, or, you know, I think people will have a concept or an understanding or an expectation of who I am, how I might behave, or an expectation of what that is. And, you know, and I've been guilty of owning that. I've been guilty of leaning into it. I've been guilty of expanding, you know, certain things. As of late, I'm, you know, I can't rewrite those chapters, but I'm trying to add new chapters and perhaps more gentle, loving chapters. But do you feel like you have, for lack of a better word,
An expectation.
A book, like that there's an expectation of who you are, how you might behave when you walk into a room or a club, or like, and how do you deal with that, or not deal with that?
And do you relate to it? In other words, what the expectation of other people when they meet you?
Oh gosh, truly, I have some lapse in my brain where I almost I literally wouldn't know how to describe myself, to be honest. Like, I know who I am, but like the observation of me, I think, can get clouded by insecurity and trauma. I really have no idea, to be honest.
Do you mean like what other people?
No clue. When I leave this room, if you're like, oh, I would have no idea, fill in the blank, couldn't guess what you'd say. I don't know why. I know how I like to make people feel. I like to make people feel included and good and laugh. But other than that, God, I have no idea, weirdly. I don't like to watch my own self-tapes. I do not watch myself on television. I will not watch or listen to this interview, but I will listen to your other interviews on the show. But I will not be watching this one. Hate pictures of, I don't like to Google myself. Like, I don't want to.
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if that changes as you get older. Like, I remember, well, maybe not. Maybe you're going to be one of the lucky ones that can really maintain that, you know, because so many of us wear like a false, it's a protective shield. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, I've watched my husband walk into a room and I know he's socially anxious, and I know he doesn't mean to come off as like, don't come near me, but he sort of does. And people will perceive that, you know, they'll think he's that guy. And I know him to be just a little bit socially anxious and actually a sweetheart in there.
Totally. That's very fair. I get that too, honestly. There's definitely, in the past few months too, I've been a little bit overwhelmed. I'm very busy right now, and there's a lot of changes in my life that have been going on just even internally. And yeah, I've had to check myself sometimes because I feel myself getting a little sharp sometimes, maybe, and I don't mean to. And I'm like, no, I know myself as being the person who likes to make people feel good and happy and laugh and included. So I understand that. And it comes for me as well, from a socially anxious place.
Yeah, it's a protective mechanism.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Sort of like, you know, I know when I was your age, I adopted the cool vibe. I was so terrified of people, really.
You're still cool.
Yeah, but I think I've kind of worn it around, but it's cool now in an accessible way, is what I'm hoping.
That's a great way to describe you.
Because when I was a teenager, I just like suddenly was wearing all black makeup. Of course, I was a fat teenager, so that made me uncomfortable. And I was just like hipper than hip. You know, that was the thing, and that made you kind of stay away from me, or look up to me or look down to me.
Was
Whatever it was,
more
I didn't want you to
emo
look at me.
Was it emo or goth? It was more emo. Right?
Is that a
synonym? I don't know if it was emo or goth.
Yeah.
Do you know what emo or goth is?
Well,
yeah.
It's sort of the same thing, but it's basically a difference in music is what it comes to.
I never got too into that music. I know emo and goth.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a persona that I developed as a teenager that, but
I get that.
Which I think we do, we sort of, people kind of, as a teenager, we have to figure out who we are.
You know what my persona was when I was a teenager?
What was your persona?
I'm hungry.
I know. He was a big boy. He carried that.
Yeah.
That big boy's in the head sometimes still.
Yeah.
Not a big boy anymore.
I get that though, about not like necessarily wanting to be seen at eye level. I have memories of being younger. I'm not there anymore, but you're walking down the street, you see someone, you make eye contact. I maybe wouldn't used to smile. I would just be like, look away. Like now I smile. I see a stranger. If I'm driving and I make eye contact with someone, I'm like, I don't know why. And I just feel good. I'm like, you don't know what they're going through. I've had times where I'm having a horrible day and I'm truly emotionally very fragile and someone will honk at me or they'll be rude at the coffee shop and I go into my car and I'm like bursting into tears. And I'm just like, no, like, be nice. I like to smile at people now. And sometimes you have to swallow your pride, not your pride, but just confidence to smile at a stranger.
Well,
right.
It's also knowing the impact that it has on you when you're having a bad day.
Yes.
Like in those moments when the barista is suddenly gentle and kind, it can shift your energy for the next whatever.
Yeah, to have a better day.
And maybe that person needs that. And
exactly.
Yeah.
That's so true. I need to remember all that. That's good.
That's why I walk through life with just a smile.
These are good. I love talking. I mean, one of my favorite things is actually, I love hanging out with our kids who are 27 and 29, the older ones.
Yeah.
I love the little one too, 17. But I find it so fascinating and I learn so much from them. So I love to hang out with younger people. I just find it really, I feel teachable around it. I feel like, oh, these guys are, these guys know a lot, you know a lot. And so I so appreciate that. I really love that.
Thank you.
I remember even at our little Christmas thing.
You were so personable at our Christmas.
You were so great. And you were sort of in and out because there was like, my son had his friend. And I just remember like, I wasn't really talking to a lot of people, but I literally felt like I was like on a safari and observing like the wildlife.
The wild animals.
Yeah, like I was just sort of like, oh, look how they're interesting. And I was like, not in a judgmental way, but it was sort of like, and there's the wild, but I was just
like anthropology.
It was like anthropology, and I was like, oh, and some of it was like, wow, there's the people that are like, give me space, but for the most part, it was very much, I just found
bonding.
Your generation, there was a lot of, hey, there was just a lot more open arms than I remember ever being at that age. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I wonder too if that is an acting community thing.
That's true.
We do have more people skills.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. Like,
and growing up around adults.
Yeah. I have a couple friends that are not in the industry, but they're from LA. And if we say we're together, we're calling a restaurant to get a reservation, I'll get the job done way quicker than a friend who's maybe not in the industry. Right. You get just a different level of people skills.
Right.
It's absolutely true. That's so true. It's kind of refreshing. Like we had a friend over the other day and we were talking about the we of it, about finding people that you have community with, that you commune with, and how it feels in the world right now that that's harder and harder to find, is the we of it.
Right.
And, I think that working on a show, being involved with, that little family that you're involved with for a while is just a really good example of how I wish the world was. So I think smiling at people and being that way is a good contribution to the we, because we're in a place where we is hard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're gonna dive into my favorite part of the programs. But here's what I just realized, and I'm sure you've made this observation because it's you, that your two major bodies of work in terms of television, although one was incredibly fucked up, and the other one, to a certain degree, is its own thing.
She plays the snarky one.
No,
for
but
sure.
the fact that you've done shows where you are part of a big family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Is really like you're somehow manifesting that in your career, that sense of like, oh, I'm going to be part of something bigger in terms of the familial dynamic.
Oh yeah, and shows that have run a long time.
Yeah, like
it's not like doing a movie
Yeah.
where you're together for a month or two,
Right.
that's your little thing, and then
It is weird. It might be the universe trying to give me that. Like,
that's what I mean.
sense of stability.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I know.
It is random. I have thought about that, and both also ironically, the families live in Chicago, which is another strange synchronicity.
That's right.
I love Chicago, synchronicity. I haven't been there since we wrapped Shameless, but it is very strange, and they're both not affluent.
Yeah,
they're both lower class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lower middle.
Middle. Well, not even middle. Shameless was not in the middle.
Yeah. But it was
the
so
Connors
much
aren't
fun. The group, it really, it all depends on the group, Such great memories with both casts. I feel fortunate to be able to work with the people I've worked with.
Yeah, really good.
And Shameless, that came to me when it was for all of us, such pivotal ages. Everybody was different age range, but we all grew up there together.
I know. Do you stay in touch?
Yeah, we all do. We have a group chat. It hasn't really been super active lately, but on the holidays and stuff, we all probably try to get together a couple times a year.
That's nice.
And I love John.
Yeah, Goodman.
John
Wells.
You're
love John Wells.
John Wells. When I had my little bump with Disney, it was like 3 people called me right away. One was Mazzara, one was Sean Ryan, and John Wells sent me an email. And I was, he's just a menschy dude.
And you didn't even really know him that well.
I know him through a few WGA things and a few emails here and there, but he's a menschy dude.
He is I am very grateful that Shameless, my first real job, had John behind it, because he's a family guy. He's got kids around my age. He is just a good person. He grew up a very humble life and really worked for this all. And he's so talented.
So great.
And I he has holiday parties, like you guys. He has holiday parties annually. I've gone every year since I was 9.
I love that.
Fantastic.
That's so great.
He's a nice man. And I think now we get to
we get to
eat some pie.
Find out your favorite pie.
All right.
And you get to tell us a little bit about it. What is this pie that you chose?
This is your favorite pie, which is
key lime pie.
All right.
By the way, given to us by one of our sponsors now, Winston's
They're one of our sponsors?
Yes, we get pies
from. Ooh, seems fitting for the pie podcast.
I know,
it does, yes. So why is this one of your favorite pies?
I like the graham cracker crust, and I like a citrus. Also, I thought about it, and I thought a lot of people would be saying apple and pumpkin or cherry.
So you were right. So this wasn't like I had key lime pie when I was 8 years old, and it was always my favorite, and
No
history.
No.
All right.
But I just like it.
Like it, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say this without insulting us, but I'm finding that kind of only people our age have stories about pies.
I know. It's
Most
true.
other people are like, I don't know. Right. I tried it once and it was really good.
I remember they built a set for Patsy's Pies on Shameless at Warner Brothers that John Wells built. And we'd always have scenes there, so I have memories, but we never actually ate the pie there.
Right. You were acting.
I'm a big pie fan.
I know. You like key lime pie.
I do like it. I like a little, because I like
tart.
Tart. I like a little tart.
Right.
And you're right, the graham cracker, nice little cut underneath it.
It's actually
really good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Definitely agree.
Winston Pies. I love that they're a sponsor of ours.
Yeah.
So Emma, this is also part of our show where you get to tell us about anything of interest to you that you want to promote or that you...
whether it's a project, whether it's a
charity,
passion, whatever.
So why don't you tell us about, I know what it is.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
And there we go.
I own a dog rescue called Yogi's House, which you know about. I talk about it all the time on set. But yeah, I started with my friend Nicola, September 2022. and we save dogs from the euthanasia list here in Southern California. It's just the two of us. We have a couple of people that help out, but we, do it all. We have saved probably 250 dogs now at this point, and it's constant. It's they say rescue is 24/7, and it is, but I love doing it. And it's my passion and my true, honestly, my pride and joy, the rescue.
Do you find homes for these dogs?
Yes. We find homes, we find fosters. We don't have a location yet here in LA. We're actually slowly starting to look at storefronts here in LA. But currently we're foster based and we have a couple dog trainers involved. We hopefully have quick turnarounds, depend.
How do you find homes for them? Is there a process?
Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And I have an application process, of course. They send a video
Do you need
application.
volunteers?
All the time. We need drivers. We need fosters. We need, for volunteer opportunity, we could also have help at adoption events.
Because our kid wants to start a club in her school doing that.
Wait, she should. We actually work with this amazing group that
Pause for Life?
No, it's called Yari Organization. And
I've heard of Yari.
Yeah, and it's this girl. She started it. She goes to Pali, and she started a high school. It's called something about youth and rescue. And she plans all of our adoption events. She's amazing. And she's actually always looking for young high school students to get involved. I should.
Oh, yeah. Let's hook
Esme
that up.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll hook that up.
Because Esme is really, she's great with the animals. She's great with all of that.
Aw.
And she would love to do that.
And I'm always at the adoption event. So you guys should come with her and I'll see you then.
Absolutely.
We're actually down now. We're smaller. At one point, we had
four
dogs, 2 tortoises, 2 lizards, a couple birds.
We've had rabbits.
We've had, right now we're down to 3 dogs and 2 lizards.
Aw, lizards. Wow.
Yeah,
scary.
she has lizards. Yeah.
She loves lizards.
Yes.
Oh man,
She lets them crawl on her. Like
Yeah,
geckos.
Are they
geckos?
she has
She's
spotted
brave.
spotted gecko. She has 2 of them. They're the ones that they're about yay big, but they have the super cool fat tail. It's really cool. And
Are you scared of lizards?
Yeah.
Oh, she'll literally be doing homework and it'll be sitting there.
That's sweet. She does that though.
Yeah.
She does. She loves animals. So yeah, we will definitely hook that up. So if people want to, so they find you on Instagram and
or our website, it's yogishouse.org.
yogishouse.org. Y-O-G-I?
Yes, YOGIS.
YOGIS house.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yogis. Yogi was the first dog we saved.
That is a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
Emma, 250 dogs.
And I have a planner book. I'm a very planned person. I love to have my schedule planned to a T and I make sure of it.
I love you.
Yes.
And you do the same?
Oh my God, are you
planner
kidding?
Book. Yes.
Well, not physical planner, but he has it on his phone.
No, get the physical. It's so satisfying to check it off.
Well, I have to have other people have access to it.
Okay, fair.
You have
a whole, I
Well,
get it.
but he sets alarms for
I
time to take my vitamins,
Right.
time to da-da-da-da. I mean, alarms constantly.
Yeah, I am very it's my day. Oh,
It's great.
There's a block.
Yes.
Have it all planned out.
It is good.
I have my planner book for my life, and then I have one for the rescue. And the rescues is always way more busy than my own life.
Wow.
Although I am busy too.
And you keep up with it. You're really on top of it.
I can't not. I mean,
do you reach out? Do these shelters let you know, or do you have to pursue them and say,
what you got?
Where we at?
Yes, we have to pursue. The shelters are not very accommodating. They sadly don't really do much for the dog's life. A lot of people don't know this, but LA County used to be no kill LA. It was a very common phrase we all knew and heard. And during the pandemic, so many dogs got returned to shelters that now LA is a kill county again at the shelters.
Wow.
Aren't they supposed to go back though? I heard that.
Yeah, but they haven't yet. And they don't advertise that it's no kill. They don't advertise that it's kill. They try to make it seem like it's still
still
kill.
the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you do? So do you go to the shelter and you just pick up all the dogs that are about to be euthanized? Do they let you take them?
We did that the first day we started. We saved every single dog from the euthanasia list. And now we, unfortunately, have a lot of monthly and weekly bills with our trainer because these dogs, we're very happy they're alive, but they are not easy to be adopted. They're not dog friendly. A lot of them have a lot of trauma, unfortunately. So we, that's kind of like a lifelong cost for about 10 of them.
Right.
unless we find somebody that wants a dog that's maybe not the most friendly.
Right.
Guard dog.
Where do they stay? Where do you take them?
With our trainer. And then we have fosters. So we have like 30 dogs currently this month. Today's April 1st. I last night went through it and wrote down all the current dogs that haven't been adopted for the month of April. We have about 30. So 10 are the ones with our trainer who are unadoptable. And then we have about 20 adoptable dogs. We have a litter of lab puppies right now too.
Aww.
So your trainer makes them or helps them become adoptable.
Yes.
Is that the plan?
That's the goal.
Right.
Some of the dogs we haven't had the best luck with yet, but I'm staying optimistic.
Right.
I love that you do that, Emma.
That.
I love it. True.
I know.
Fave.
I know you did, but I didn't know the ins and
Do you
outs
know
of it.
The
Zen dog guy?
The Zen dog guy?
No.
I'll send you his information.
Yeah.
He's a trainer. He used to have a TV show on, one of those TV. And he trained difficult dogs. Yeah. That was his whole deal.
I have heard of this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys have
and I feel bad.
He has his contact.
I have his contact information. I'll send it.
Thank you, because we need maybe some other eyes.
Yeah. He's like he's kind of a spiritual cat too, which is great. And Ryan too. Ryan.
Oh yeah, Ryan Hurst.
Ryan
but
Hurst.
He trains.
He's not in practice with it, but he that's all he did for a long time was
this was amazing.
Dogs.
That's amazing.
This guy comes to our house. He was on Sons of Anarchy. He's an actor, and he worked with our dogs. He was just over to visit, and he did all this like training without using words,
just
like signals, blah blah. I mean, and the dogs were responding. Yeah. It was wild.
Wow.
It was like, whoa, this
and
guy.
It wasn't
no screaming, no yelling,
it was no intimidation.
Commands.
It was like this weird like. The dogs would like it was like he fucking hypnotized them. It was amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was a differently, it was a
and
wild approach.
Yeah, it is there's two philosophies, and in my opinion, the hardcore Nazi, is
training
is destructive, and we've had one dog that experienced that. He's neurotic as fuck. So, and the other one, much different. So,
yes.
But that's fantastic that you do that.
That's
I
great.
love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's my pride and joy, truly.
Great.
If you know anybody that wants to adopt or foster,
okay,
send them my way. Because, you can really adopt any breed. So I like to always remind people of that. Because oftentimes you think you can maybe only adopt a pit bull, and some people don't want a pit bull.
Really? People think they can only adopt a certain kind?
I've noticed that. They're like, oh, well, where am I going to get, with their Shih Tzu, where am I going to get a dog like this from? I'm like, you can literally call me and I'll find you one at the shelter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm amazed when you just see like French Bulldog adoption. Like there's like entire rescues for these very niche designer dogs because, people let them go.
They do.
Exactly.
We rescued a Dane one time.
Oh, yeah.
And
beautiful.
He was a beautiful Dane. He was so emaciated, and we found him downtown. It was clearly like somebody couldn't.
You found him astray.
Yeah.
Astray.
Wow.
It's like somebody couldn't afford to feed him anymore.
Right.
He was a big dog, and we nursed him back to health.
Yeah,
and
Maine. She was a mess.
He was a mess.
And then like 2 months later, he's better and he's beautiful. And we called him Blue because he was
like a blue merle.
Blue Marley. He was beautiful. And
we found a home for him.
Oh, yeah. We found a home for him. And,
that's amazing.
And then we have one, her dog, Esme's little dog, is Nate's fantastic. He's like just
we got him at a rescue.
Yeah, and his eyes all fucked up. He looks like a thug. He's fantastic.
Cute.
Yeah.
I love that. I love my rescue dogs.
Okay.
This is fantastic.
Think we have done our show.
This was so fun.
Fun.
You're
We're
lovely.
So
it was
glad
so
you
great.
Came over.
So lovely getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
So I thank you. This is great.
Thank you guys so much for hanging and talking and having me on.